Student athlete recruiting. Today is the first in a series of blog videos about the money grab of college soccer recruiting and misleading information that's out there, whether it's about showcase events, ID camps, recruiting services, what college coaches are telling you, the leagues you're playing in, all of these things. There's a lot of information. I run across a lot of questionable information, misleading information, some that's in the name of money, and we want to make sure that everybody's getting the best return on investment for attending these events. You can spend thousands of dollars attending these events, and I work in an industry that often gets accused of being misleading and not trustworthy and things like that. But my goal is to help prospects and their families find the right fit opportunities that are out there. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of misleading information, and we want you to get the most out of your college recruiting as we go. So again, I feel one of my responsibilities in advising clients in the college soccer recruiting process is to point them in the right direction for the right opportunities for coaches to see them play and evaluate them. It's just one of them. I can help people get on doorsteps. I can't. College coaches are going to probably want to see every person I see, that I work with or anybody works with see them play. Although, they can trust me to some extent. I'm not saying to not attend these events with your team for fun and development. But if you're seriously going to spend time and money on these events in the name of college recruiting, you need to get the truth. All right. You need to know what the best ROI is. You need to make some decisions. Don't just make blind decisions on, we're going to go to this tournament. We're going to go spend, it's $200 to play. It's another, $600 for hotels for the weekend, food, transportation, whatever it might be. You could be out thousands of dollars, and you want to make sure that there's a lot of, or that you're getting the right choices out there. I'm going to outline an example of how watered down showcases can be in regards to college coaches attending. All right. There are so many opportunities out there. All right. This time of year, we're starting to see a lot of late fall, early winter showcases and ID camps pop up. For instance, November, December, January are full of them. I want you to get the best ROI out there. You could spend thousands on this, and you need to make sure that you know what's going on. So personally, I like events that are local, that are one day, that are low cost, potential high return. Maybe you don't have to travel. But that being said, there are so many options out there with different returns on investments. It's important to note, not all showcases and ID camps are created equal. The name college showcase or college showcase tournament or whatever it is, it's a marketing tool. It's to get you to attend. You think that college coaches are going to be there. There's usually at least one, right? But I've seen events where there's just about one. Let's look at this. December 2nd through 4th, this upcoming winter, 2022. There are so many showcases that weekend, the weekend before, the next weekend, including the major youth leagues, which most of the Division I teams will be attending. And most of these events will be watered down and have minimal attendance. All right, so let's look at this. The boys' side. Let's just use them as an example. On the boys' side, December 2nd through 4th, we have MLS Next, the MLS Next Fest in California. It's probably the number one attended event. We have ECNL Fall Showcase in South Carolina, right there with MLS Next. We have the National League Pro, that's in Orlando. College soccer programs typically have 2 to, depending on the level of play, the high level Division I's might have 4 coaches on staff, maybe 3. As you go down into Division II and Division III and AI, you might have 1 full-time coach, 2 full-time coaches. So if all 3 of those events are the same weekend, coaches are going to be, going one way or the other. In addition, there's colleges still playing that weekend. The top 8 Division I teams are still playing that weekend. They won't be at those events. The top Division III, Division II, and AI teams are still playing that weekend. they're in the national championships and semifinals, quarterfinals, things like that. And then on top of that, we have minor events that same weekend that might have a small attendance of college coaches attending, maybe regional ones that can't afford to go to those other events, ones that might not typically recruit those types of players that go to the big national events. Maybe they're a school that typically recruits internationals or unknowns, things like that. There's a lot to break down. All right. So, that same weekend, we have Challenger Showcase in Kansas City. We have the Luf Youth Showcase in St. Louis. We have Sporting Storage Showcase in Dallas. We have the EA National event in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Those would be much more regional. Typically, schools within an hour to 3 hours from there might come and watch if they're not spending all their money going to these other showcases, if they're not playing. And a lot of times coaches sign up for every event just to make sure they get the email names for their camps and to make money in the future. They may not even attend. I've seen, hey, I was at one this summer. I heard Indiana's attending this event. As Indiana's not attending this event, they probably signed up so they can get the email list so they can invite more kids to their camp so they can make more money for their coaches and things like that. Just, there are some vagueness, there is some misleading things to showcases and events and things like that. So you need to pick what is good for you. Like I said, I've been to showcases where there's very few coaches. And clubs are going there and name recruiting and clubs claim they're going to help get their kids recruited. It's a marketing tactic. It's a college showcase. All right. If you really want to be seen, I encourage you to attend events with a lot of college coaches. There's some great non-ECNL and MLS Next events, non-GA events if you're on the female side, if your goal is to attend college and play. Those things are out there. So you can, if your club isn't going to them, you can try to guest play in those events. You can reach out to the tournaments. Some tournaments have guest play registries, or you can reach out to the events directly and see if you can get in those. We'll talk about ID camps next time in this blog, but I think you can use ID camps in those areas of the schools you want to go to, or the types of schools you want to go to are going to be at those ID camps. Those can be good opportunities too, if you fit in with what they're doing. All right. Another thing, and this is in particular for parents out there, when you go to these showcase and events, take rosters of your team with you with player profiles, the contact information of every player, the number. Okay. Tommy Smith, he wears number 2, what their GPA is, what they might want to study, what their email and phone number is at a minimum. Graduation year, that's another thing you need to have in there. Have a spreadsheet of that to hand out to college coaches that attend your games at a minimum, and have a parent in charge of walking around and handing those out. I've been to too many events where college coaches didn't have the contact information for a particular team, and they show up at the game. They don't have the contact information, so they walk away, or they don't even go to that game and see those kids play a whole tournament because that team either didn't turn in their roster in time, or the showcase isn't doing a good job of getting those out to college coaches. So take the initiative and hand those out. Have a parent that's in charge. One parent walks around the field throughout the course of the game. As college coaches step up to watch games, you can kind of tell who they are. You walk up, you introduce yourself, and you ask them if they'd like a roster. If you're guest playing, a little info sheet about the guest player, because you might not have got put on the roster, and you want to make sure you're spending thousands of dollars going to some showcase event to guest play to get in front of college coaches in that area. Maybe you want to go to school in California, so you're going to a showcase out in California to get in front of college coaches. You want to make sure you got everything out. So that parent that's along with you might need to hand out your individual profile sheet to college coaches, just so they know, okay, number 9 is Dan. He's guest playing. He's here for the weekend. He wants to be in school in California. And GPA, phone number, grad year, email address, what I'm interested in majoring in, those types of things. So again, there's so much I could go into detail. You know, we're going to talk about a lot of other things in these blogs, ID camps, recruiting services, um, you know, what college coaches tell you, you know, just a lot of the misleading and money grab type things that are out there. There's a lot of good out there in college soccer recruiting, and it can be a lot of fun. And ultimately, you know, we want to make sure events are fun and worth it and things like that. But you know, I want to make sure also that if you're going in the name of recruiting, that you're doing it for the right reasons and you're picking the right opportunities.